Hello, and welcome back to Brendan Moir's Playwright Corner, where I read plays, poems, or whatever's currently striking my fancy at the moment. Today we're going to be reading a play by George Bernard Shaw, an Irish playwright who wrote more than about 60 plays during his lifetime of about almost 100 years, entitled Mrs. Warren's Profession, a play that had been banned for many, many years due to its subject matter. The persons of the play are Vivie Warren, Mrs. Warren, Mr. Praed, Sir George Crofts, Frank Gardner, and Reverend Samuel Gardner. Act 1. Summer afternoon in a cottage garden on the eastern slope of a hill a little south of Hazelmere in Surrey. Looking up the hill, the cottage is seen in the left-hand corner of the garden, with its thatched roof and porch, and a large latticed window to the left of the porch. Farther back, a little wing is built out, making an angle with the right side wall. From the end of this wing, a paling curves across and forward, completely shutting in the garden, except for a gate on the right. The common rises uphill beyond the paling to the skyline. Some folded canvas garden chairs are leaning against the side bench in the porch. A lady's bicycle is propped against the wall under the window. A little to the right of the porch, a hammock is slung from 2 posts. A big canvas umbrella, stuck in the ground, keeps the sun off the hammock, in which a young lady lies reading and making notes, with her head towards the cottage and her feet towards the gate. In front of the hammock, and within reach of her hand, is a common kitchen chair, with a pile of serious-looking books and a supply of writing paper upon it. A gentleman walking on the common comes into sight from behind the cottage. He is hardly past middle age, with something of an artist about him, unconventionally but carefully dressed and clean-shaven except for a mustache, with an eager, susceptible face and very amiable and considerate manners. He has silky black hair, with waves of grey and white in it. His eyebrows are white, his mustache black. He seems not certain of his way. He looks over the paling, takes stock of the place, and sees the young lady. The gentleman, taking off his hat. "I beg your pardon. Can you direct me to Hindhead View? Mrs. Allison's?" The young lady, glancing up from her book. "This is Mrs. Allison's." She resumes her work. The gentleman. "Indeed. Perhaps, may I ask, are you Miss Vivie Warren?" The young lady, sharply, as she turns on her elbow to get a good look at him. "Yes." The gentleman, daunted and conciliatory. "I'm afraid I appear intrusive. My name is Praed." Vivie at once throws her books upon the chair and gets out of the hammock. "Oh, pray don't let me disturb you." Vivie, striding to the gate and opening it for him. "Come in, Mr. Praed." He comes in. "Glad to meet you." She proffers her hand and takes his with a resolute and hearty grip. She's an attractive specimen of the sensible, able, highly educated young middle-class Englishwoman, age 22. Prompt, strong, confident, self-possessed. Plain, business-like dress, but not dowdy. She wears a chatelaine at her belt, with a fountain pen and paper knife among its pendants. Praed. "Very kind of you indeed, Miss Warren." She shuts the gate with a vigorous slam. He passes into the middle of the garden, exercising his fingers, which are slightly numbed by her greeting. "Has your mother arrived?" Vivie, quickly, evidently scenting aggression. "Is she coming?" Praed, surprised. "Didn't you expect us?" "No." "Now, goodness me, I hope I'm not mistaken the day. That would be just like me, you know. Your mother arranged that she should come down from London and that I should come over from Horsham to be introduced to you." Vivie, not at all pleased. "Did she? My mother has rather a trick of taking me by surprise. To see how I behave myself when she's away, I suppose. I fancy I shall take my mother very much by surprise one of these days, if she makes arrangements that concern me without consulting me beforehand. She hasn't come." Praed, embarrassed. "I'm really very sorry." Vivie, throwing off her displeasure. "It's not your fault, Mr. Praed, is it? And I'm very glad you've come, believe me. You are the only one of my mother's friends I have asked her to bring to see me." Praed, relieved and delighted. "Oh, now this is really very good of you, Miss Warren. Will you come indoors? Or would you rather sit out here whilst we talk? It will be nicer out here, don't you think? Then I will go and get you a chair. She goes to the porch for a garden chair. Praed following her. Oh, pray, allow me. He lands hands on the chair. Vivi, letting him take it. Take care of your fingers. They're rather dodgy things, those chairs. She goes across to the chair with the books on it, pitches them into the hammock, and brings the chair forward with one swing. Praed, who has just unfolded his chair. Oh, now do let me take the hard chair. I like hard chairs. Vivi. So do I. She sits down. Sit down, Mr. Praed. This invitation is given with genial peremptoriness, his anxiety to please her clearly striking her as a sign of weakness of character on his part. Praed. By the way, hadn't we better go to the station to meet your mother? Vivi, coolly. Why? She knows the way. Praed hesitates, and then sits down in the garden chair rather disconcerted. Do you know, you are just like what I expected. I hope you are disposed to be friends with me. Praed, again beaming. Thank you, my dear Miss Warren. Thank you. Dear me, I'm so glad your mother hasn't spoiled you. How? Well, in making you too conventional. You know, my dear Miss Warren, I'm a born anarchist. I hate authority. It spoils the relations between parent and child, even between mother and daughter. Now, I was always afraid that your mother would strain her authority to make you very conventional. It's such a relief to find that she hasn't. Oh. Have I been behaving unconventionally? Oh, no. Oh, dear, no. At least, not conventionally unconventionally, you understand. She nods. He goes on with a cordial outburst. But it was so charming of you to say that you were disposed to be friends with me. You modern young ladies are splendid, perfectly splendid. Vivi, dubiously, watching him with dawning disappointment as to the quality of his brains and character. Eh? Praed. When I was your age, young men and women were afraid of each other. There was no good fellowship, nothing real, only gallantry copied out of novels, and as vulgar and affected as it could be. Mainly reserve, gentlemanly chivalry, always saying no when you mean yes, a simple purgatory for shy and sincere souls. Vivi. Yes, I imagine there must have been a frightful waste of time, especially women's time. Oh, waste of time, waste of everything. But things are improving. Do you know, I've been in a positive state of excitement about meeting you ever since your magnificent achievements at Cambridge. A thing unheard of in my day. It was perfectly splendid, your tying with the third wrangler. Just the right place, you know. The first wrangler is always a dreamy, morbid fellow in whom the thing is pushed to the length of a disease. Vivi. It doesn't pay. I wouldn't do it again for the same money. Praed, aghast. The same money? I did it for £50. Perhaps you don't know how it was. Mrs. Latham, my tutor at Newnham, told my mother that I could distinguish myself in the mathematical tripost if I went for it in earnest. The papers were full just then of Philippia Summers beating the senior wrangler. You remember about it. And nothing would please my mother but that I should do the same thing. I said flatly that it was not worth my while to face the grind since I was not going in for teaching. But I offered to try for fourth wrangler or thereabouts for £50. She closed with me after that, after a little grumbling, and I was better than my bargain. But I wouldn't do it again for that. £200 would have been near the mark. Praed, much dampened. Lord bless me. That's a very practical way of looking at it. Did you expect to find me an unpractical person? No, but surely it's practical to consider not only the work these honours cost, but also the culture they bring. Culture! My dear Mr. Praed, do you know what the mathematical tripost means? It means grind for 6 to 8 hours a day at mathematics, and nothing but mathematics. I'm supposed to know something about science, but I know nothing except the mathematics it involves. I can make calculations for engineers, electricians, insurance companies, and so on, but I know next to nothing about engineering or electricity or insurance. I don't even know arithmetic well. Outside mathematics, lawn tennis, eating, sleeping, cycling, and walking, I'm a more ignorant barbarian than any woman could ever be who hadn't gone in for the tripost. Praed, revolted. What a monstrous, wicked, rascally system! I knew it! I felt at once that it meant destroying all that makes womanhood beautiful. Vivi. I don't object to it on that score in the least. I shall turn it into a very good account, I assure you. Oh, pooh! In what way? I shall set up chambers in the city and work at actuarial calculations and conveyancing. Under cover of that, I shall do some law. With one eye on the stock exchange all the time. I come down here by myself to read law, not for a holiday as my mother imagines. I hate holidays. You make my blood run cold. Are you to have no romance? No beauty in your life? I don't care for either, I assure you. You can't mean that. Oh, yes, I do. I like working and getting paid for it. When I'm tired of working, I like a comfortable chair, a cigar and a little whiskey and a novel with a good detective story in it. Prayed, in a frenzy of repudiation. I don't believe it. I'm an artist. I can't believe it. I refuse to believe it. Enthusiastically. Oh, my dear Miss Warren, you haven't discovered it yet, I see. What a wonderful world art can open up to you. Yes, I have. Last May, I spent 6 weeks in London with Honoria Fraser. Mama thought we were doing a round of sightseeing together, but I was really at Honoria's chambers in Chancery Lane every day, working away at actuarial calculations for her and helping her as well as a greenhorn could. In the evenings, we smoked and talked and never dreamt of going out except for exercise. And I never enjoyed myself more in my life. I cleared all my expenses and got initiated into the business without a fee into the bargain. But bless my soul, Miss Warren, do you call that trying art? Wait a bit. That wasn't the beginning. I went up to town on an invitation from some artistic people in Fitzjohn Avenue. One of the girls was a Newnham chum. They took me to the National Gallery, to the opera, and to a concert where the band played all evening. Beethoven and Wagner and so on. I wouldn't go through that experience again for anything you could offer me. I held out for civility's sake until the third day, and then I said plump out that I couldn't stand any more of it and went off to Chancery Lane. Now you know the sort of perfectly splendid model young lady I am. How do you think I shall get on with my mother? Prayed, startled. Well, I hope... it's not so much that you hope as what you believe that I want to know. Well, frankly, I'm afraid your mother will be a little disappointed. Not from any shortcoming on your part, but... I don't mean that, but... You are so different from her ideal. What is her ideal like? Well, you must have observed, Miss Warren, that people who are dissatisfied with their own bringing up generally think that the world would be all right if everybody were brought up quite differently. Now, your mother's life has been, I suppose you know... I know nothing. Prayed is appalled. His consternation grows as she continues. That's exactly my difficulty. You forget, Mr. Prayed, that I hardly know my mother. Since I was a child, I have lived in England at school or college or with people paid to take charge of me. I have been boarded out all my life, and my mother has lived in Brussels or Vienna and never let me go to her. I only see her when she visits England for a few days. I don't complain. It's been very pleasant. Her people have been very good to me. And there's always been plenty of money to make things smooth. But don't imagine I know anything about my mother. I know far less than you do. Prayed, very ill at ease. In that case, He stops, quite at a loss. Then, with a forced attempt at gaiety. But what nonsense we are talking! Of course you and your mother will get on capitally. He rises and looks abroad at the view. What a charming little place you have here! Vivy, unmoved. If you think you are doing anything but confirming my worst suspicions by changing the subject like that, you must take me for a greater fool than I hope I am. Prayed. Your worst suspicions? Oh, pray don't say that. Now don't. Vivy. Why won't my mother's life bear being talked about? Think, Miss Vivy. It is natural that I should have a certain delicacy in talking to my old friend's daughter about her behind her back, and we'll have plenty of opportunity of talking to her about it when she comes. I wonder what is keeping her. Vivy. No, she won't talk about it either. However, I won't press you. Only mind this, Mr. Prayed. I strongly suspect that there will be a battle royale when my mother hears of my Chancery Lane project. Prayed, ruefully. I'm afraid there will. I shall win the battle, because I want nothing but my fare to London, to start there tomorrow earning my own living by a deviling for Honoria. Besides, I have no mysteries to keep up, and it seems she has. I shall use that advantage over her if necessary. Prayed, gently shocked. Oh, no. No, pray, you not do such a thing. Then tell me why not. I really cannot. I appeal to your good feeling. She smiles at his sentimentality. Besides, you may be too bold. Your mother is not to be trifled with when she's angry. You can't frighten me, Mr. Praed. In that month at Chancery Lane, I had opportunities of taking the measure of one or two women very much like my mother who came to consult Honoria. You may back me to win. But, if I hit harder in my ignorance than I need, remember that it is you who refuse to enlighten me. Now let us drop the subject. She takes her chair and replaces it near the hammock with the same vigorous swing as before. Praed, taking a desperate resolution. One word, Miss Warren. I had better tell you, it's very difficult, but... Mrs. Warren and Sir George Crofts arrive at the gate. Mrs. Warren is a woman between 40 and 50, good-looking, showily dressed in a brilliant hat and a gay blouse fitting tightly over her bust and flanked by fashionable sleeves. Rather spoiled and domineering, but on the whole a genial and fairly presentable old blackguard of a woman. Crofts is a tall, powerfully built man of about 50, fashionably dressed in the style of a young man. Nasal voice, readier than might be expected from his strong frame. Clean-shaven, bulldog jaw, large flat ears, and thick neck. Gentlemanly combination of the most brutal types of city man, sporting man, and man about town. Vivy. Here they are. Coming up to them as they enter the garden. How do, Mater? Mr. Praed's been here this half hour waiting for you. Mrs. Warren. Well, if you've been waiting, Praddy, it's your own fault. I thought you'd have the gumption and know I was coming by the 3:10 train. Vivy, put your hat on, dear. You'll get sunburnt. Oh, forgot to introduce you. Sir George Crofts? My little Vivy. Crofts advances to Vivy with his most courtly manner. She nods, but makes no motion to shake hands. Crofts. May I shake hands with a young lady whom I have known by reputation very long as the daughter of one of my oldest friends? Vivy, who has been looking him up and down sharply. If you like. She takes his tenderly proffered hand and gives it a squeeze that makes him open his eyes, then turns away and says to her mother, Will you come in, or shall I get a couple more chairs? She goes into the porch for the chairs. Mrs. Warren. Well, George, what do you think of her? Crofts ruefully. She has a powerful fist. Did you shake hands with her, Praed? Praed. Yes. It will pass off presently. Crofts. I hope so. Vivy reappears with 2 more chairs. He hurries to her assistance. Allow me. Mrs. Warren, patronizingly. Let Sir George help you with the chairs, dear. Vivy, almost pitching 2 into his arms. Here you are. She dusts her hands and turns to Mrs. Warren. You'd like some tea, wouldn't you? Mrs. Warren, sitting in Praed's chair and fanning herself. I'm dying for a drop to drink. Vivy, I'll see about it. She goes into the cottage. Sir George has by this time managed to unfold a chair and plant it beside Mrs. Warren, on her left. He throws the other on the grass and sits down, looking dejected and rather foolish, with the handle of his stick in his mouth. Praed, still very uneasy, fidgets about the garden on their right. Mrs. Warren, to Praed, looking at Crofts. Just look at him, Praddy. He looks cheerful, don't he? He's been worrying my life out of these 3 years to have that little girl of mine shown to him. And now that I've done it, he's quite out of countenance. Briskly. Come, sit up, George, and take your stick out of your mouth. Crofts sulkily obeys. Praed. I think, if you don't mind me saying so, that we had better get out of the habit of thinking her as a little girl. You see that she has really distinguished herself. And I'm not sure, from what I've seen of her, that she is not older than any of us. Mrs. Warren, greatly amused. Oh, listen to him, George. Older than any of us. Well, she has been stuffing you nicely with her importance. Praed. But young people are particularly sensitive about being treated in that way. Yes. And young people have to get all that nonsense taken out of them. And a good deal more besides. Don't you interfere, Praddy. I know how to treat my own child as well as you do. Praed, with a grave shake of his head, walks up to the garden with his hands behind his back. Mrs. Warren pretends to laugh, but looks after him with perceptible concern. Then she whispers to Crofts. What's the matter with him? Why does he take it like that for? Crofts, morosely. You're afraid of Praed. What? Me? Afraid of dear old Praddy? Why, a fly would be afraid of him. You're afraid of him. I'll trouble you to mind your own business and not try any of your sulks on me. I'm not afraid of you, anyhow. If you can't make yourself agreeable, you better go home. She gets up, and, turning her back on him, finds herself face to face with Praed. Come, Praddy, I know it was only your tender-heartedness. You're afraid I'll bully her. Praed. My dear Kitty, you think I'm offended. Don't imagine that. Pray, don't. But you know I often notice things that escape you. And though you never take my advice, you sometimes admit afterwards that you ought to have taken it. Well, what do you notice now? Only that Vivy is a grown woman. Pray, Kitty, treat her with every respect. Mrs. Warren, with genuine amazement. Respect? Treat my own daughter with respect? What next, pray? Vivy, appearing at the cottage door and calling to Mrs. Warren. Mother, will you come up to my room and take your bonnet off before tea? Mrs. Warren. Yes, dearie. She laughs indulgently at Praed and pats him on the cheek as she passes him on her way to the porch. She follows Vivy into the cottage. Crofts, furtively. I say, Praed. Praed. Yes? I want to ask you a rather particular question. Certainly. He takes Mrs. Warren's chair and sits close to Crofts. Oh, that's right. They might hear us from the window. Look here. Did Kitty ever tell you who that girl's father is? Never. Have you any suspicion of who it might be? None. Crofts, not believing him. I know, of course, that you perhaps might feel bound not to tell if she had said anything to you, but it's very awkward to be uncertain about it now that we shall be meeting the girl every day. We don't exactly know how we ought to feel towards her. What difference can that make? We take her on her own merits. What does it matter who her father was? Crofts, suspiciously. Then you know who it was. Praed, with a touch of temper. I said no just now. Did you not hear me? Look here, Praed. I ask you a particular favour. If you do know, movement of protest from Praed, I only say if you know, you might at least set my mind at rest about her. The fact is, I feel attracted towards her. Oh, don't be alarmed, it's quite an innocent feeling. That's what puzzles me about it. Why, for all I know, I might be her father. You! Impossible! Oh, no, nonsense! Crofts, catching him up cunningly. You know for certain that I'm not. I know nothing about it, I tell you, any more than you. But really, Crofts, oh no, it's out of the question. There's not the least resemblance. As to that, there's no resemblance between her and her mother that I can see. I suppose she's not your daughter, is she? Praed. He meets the question with an indignant stare, then recovers himself with an effort and answers gently and gravely. Now listen to me, my dear Crofts. I have nothing to do with that side of Mrs. Warren's life, and never had. She has never spoken to me about it, and of course I have never spoken to her about it. Your delicacy will tell you that a handsome woman needs some friends who are not, well, not on that footing with her. The effect of her own beauty would become a torment to her if she could not escape from it occasionally. You are probably on much more confidential terms with Kitty than I am. Surely you can ask her the question yourself. Crofts, rising impatiently. I have asked her often enough. But she's so determined to keep the child all to herself that she would deny that it ever had a father if she could. No, there's nothing to be got out of her. Nothing that one can believe, anyhow. I'm thoroughly uncomfortable about it, Praed. Praed, rising also. Well, as you are, at all events, old enough to be her father, I don't mind agreeing that we both regard Miss Vivy in a parental way, as a young girl whom we are bound to protect and help. All the more as the real father, whoever he was probably a blackguard. What do you say? Crofts, aggressively. I'm no older than you if you come to that. Yes, you are, my dear fellow. You were born old. I was born a boy. I've never been able to feel the assurance of a grown-up man in my life. Mrs. Warren, calling from within the cottage. Pratty! George! Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee. Crofts, hastily. She's calling us. He hurries in. Praed shakes his head bodingly, and is following slowly when he is hailed by a young gentleman who has just appeared on the common, and is making for the gate. He is a pleasant, pretty, smartly dressed, and entirely good-for-nothing young fellow, not long turned 20, with a charming voice and agreeably disrespectful manner. He carries a very light sporting magazine rifle. The young gentleman. Hello! Praed! Praed. Why? Frank Gardner! Frank comes in and shakes hands cordially. What on earth are you doing here? Staying with my father. Praed. The Roman father. Frank. He's rector here. I'm living with my people this autumn for the sake of economy. Things came to a crisis in July. The Roman father had to pay my debts. He's stony broke in consequence, and so am I. What are you up to in these parts? Do you know the people here? Praed. Yes, I'm spending the day with a Miss Warren. What? Do you know Vivi? Isn't she a jolly girl? I'm teaching her to shoot. You see? Showing the rifle. I'm so glad she knows you. You're just the sort of fellow she ought to know. He smiles and raises the charming voice almost to a singing tone as he exclaims, It's ever so jolly to find you here, Praed. Ain't it now? Praed. I'm an old friend of her mother's. Mrs. Warren brought me over to make her daughter's acquaintance. The mother? Is she here? Yes, inside at tea. Mrs. Warren, calling from within, Pratty! The tea cake will be cold. Praed, calling, Yes, Mrs. Warren. In a moment, I've just met a friend here. A what? A friend! Bring him up! All right. To Frank. Will you accept the invitation? Frank, incredulous, but immensely amused. Is that Vivi's mother? Yes. By Jove, what a luck. Do you think she'll like me? I've no doubt you'll make yourself popular as usual. Come in and try. Moving towards the house. Stop a bit. I want to take you into my confidence. Pray, don't. It's only some fresh folly like the barmaid at Red Hill. It's ever so much more serious than that. You say you've only just met Vivi for the first time. Yes. Frank, rhapsodically. Then you can have no idea what a girl she is. Such character, such sense, and her cleverness. Oh, my eye pray, but I can tell you she is clever. And the most loving little heart that... Crofts, putting his head out the window. I say, Praed, what are you about? Do come along. He disappears. Frank. Hello. Sort of a chap that would take a prize at a dog show, ain't he? Who's he? Praed. Sir George Crofts. An old friend of Mrs. Warren's. I think we had better come in. On their way to the porch, they are interrupted by a call from the gate. Turning, they see an elderly clergyman looking over it. The clergyman calling, Frank! Frank. Hello! To Praed. The Roman father. To the clergyman. Yes, Governor? All right. Presently. To Praed. Look here, Praed. You'd better go into tea. I'll join you directly. Praed. Very good. He raises his hat to the clergyman, who acknowledges the salute distantly. Praed goes into the cottage. The clergyman remains stiffly outside the gate, with his hands on top of it. The Reverend Samuel Gardner, a beneficed clergyman of the established church, is over 50. He is a pretentious, booming, noisy person, hopelessly asserting himself as a father and a clergyman without being able to command respect in either capacity. Reverend Samuel. Well, sir? Who are your friends here, if I may ask? Oh, it's all right, Governor. Come in. No, sir. Not until I know whose garden I am entering. It's all right. It's Miss Warren's. I have not seen her at church since she came. Of course not. She's the third wrangler, ever so intellectual, took a higher degree than you did. So why should she go to hear you preach? Don't be disrespectful, sir. Oh, it don't matter. Nobody hears us. Come in. He opens the gate, unceremoniously pulling his father with it into the garden. I want to introduce you to her. She and I get on rattling well together. She's charming. Do you remember the advice you gave me last July, Governor? Reverend Samuel, severely. Yes. I advised you to conquer your idleness and flippancy and to work your way into an honourable profession and live on it and not upon me. No, that's what you thought afterwards. What you actually said was that since I had neither brains nor money, I'd better turn my good looks to account by marrying somebody with both. Well, look here. Miss Warren has brains, you can't deny that. Brains are not everything. No, of course not. There's the money, Reverend Samuel, interrupting him austerely. I was not thinking of money, sir. I was speaking of higher things. Social position, for instance.
Oh, I don't care a rap about that.
But I do, sir.
Well, nobody wants you to marry her. Anyhow, she has what amounts to a high Cambridge degree, and she seems to have as much money as she wants.
Reverend Samuel, sinking into a feeble vein of humour. I greatly doubt whether she has as much money as you will want.
Oh, come, I haven't been so very extravagant. I live ever so quietly. I don't drink, I don't bet much, and I never go regularly on the razzle-dazzle as you did when you were my age.
Reverend Samuel, booing haughtily. Silence, sir.
Well, you told me yourself, when I was making ever such an ass of myself up at the barmaid at Red Hill, that you once offered a woman £50 for the letters you wrote to her when—
Frank, for heaven's sake!
He looks round apprehensively. Seeing no one within earshot, he plucks up courage to boom again, but more subduedly.
You are taking an ungentlemanly advantage of what I confided to you for your own good, to save you from an error you would have repented all your life long. Take warning by your father's follies, sir, and don't make them an excuse for your own.
Did you ever hear the story of Duke Wellington and his letters?
No, sir, and I don't want to hear it.
The old Iron Duke didn't throw away £50. Not he. He just wrote, "My dear Jenny, publish and be damned. Yours affectionately, Wellington." That's what you should have done.
Frank, my boy, when I wrote those letters, I put myself into that woman's power. When I told you about her, I put myself, to some extent, I'm sorry to say, in your power. She refused my money with these words, which I shall never forget. Knowledge is power, she said, and I never sell power. That's more than 20 years ago, and she has never made use of her power or caused me a moment's uneasiness. You are behaving worse to me than she did, Frank.
Oh yes, I dare say. Did you ever preach at her the way you preach at me every day?
Reverend Samuel, wounded almost to tears. I leave you, sir. You are incorrigible. He turns towards the gate. Frank, utterly unmoved.
Tell them I shan't be home to tea, will you, Governor? Like a good fellow?
He goes towards the cottage door and is met by Vivy coming out, followed by Praed, Crofts, and Mrs. Warren. Vivy to Frank.
Is that your father, Frank? I do so want to meet him.
Frank.
Certainly.
Calling after his father.
Governor!
The Reverend Samuel turns at the gate, fumbling nervously at his hat. Praed comes down the garden on the opposite side, beaming in anticipation of civilities. Crofts prowls around near the hammock, poking it with his stick to make it swing. Mrs. Warren halts on the threshold, staring hard at the clergyman. Frank.
Let me introduce my father, Miss Warren.
Vivy, going to the clergyman and shaking his hand.
Very glad to see you here, Mr. Gardner. Let me introduce everybody.
Mr. Gardner,
Mr. Frank Gardner, Mr. Praed, Sir George Crofts, and—
As the men are raising their hats to one another, Vivy is interrupted by an exclamation from her mother, who swoops down on the Reverend Samuel. Mrs. Warren.
Why, it's Sam Gardner gone into the church. Don't you know us, Sam? This is George Crofts, as large as life and twice as natural. Don't you remember me?
Reverend Samuel, very red. I really,
Of course you do. Why, I have a whole album of your letters still. I came across them only the other day.
Reverend Samuel, miserably confused. Miss Vavasour, I believe. Mrs. Warren, correcting him quickly in a loud whisper.
Nonsense. Mrs. Warren. Don't you see my daughter there?
Act drop.